In the early 20th century, when the field of psychology was divided between behaviorism and psychoanalysis, one man dared to suggest something different, that a human being is not just a subject for laboratory experiments but a soulful, emotional, and creative entity. That man was Carl Rogers, the pioneer of humanistic psychology. This is the story of his life, his ideas, his struggles, and the values he expressed in On Becoming a Person, a book that transformed the lives of millions. 1. Childhood and the Curious Mind, 1902 to 1920. Rogers began working at the Rochester Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, where he closely studied emotionally troubled children. It was here that he had a major revelation: more than techniques, what truly helps people is empathy and authentic connection. He discovered that when people are listened to without judgment and are deeply understood, they begin to change from within. This insight became the seed of a revolutionary approach that would later be known as client-centered therapy. 4. The birth of client-centered therapy, 1940 to 1950. Rogers' approach stood in sharp contrast to Freudian psychoanalysis. He famously said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." He began referring to those who sought therapy not as patients, but as clients. He believed that people are not sick or broken, but are experiencing life's complexities and are capable of finding solutions within themselves. His method was built on 3 core conditions. 1. 6. Influence beyond therapy, education, leadership, and conflict resolution, 1960 to 1975. Rogers' ideas weren't confined to therapy. He applied them to education, marriage, leadership, and even global peace building. He argued that in classrooms, if teachers create an atmosphere of acceptance and openness, students flourish not just intellectually, but emotionally. In the 1970s, Rogers founded the Center for Studies of the Person and conducted encounter groups, where people explored their authentic selves in safe, open dialogue. He also used his approach in conflict resolution efforts, like during the political tensions in Northern Ireland, where previously opposing groups were brought together in healing dialogue. 7. Struggles and criticism. Despite his wide influence, Rogers faced considerable criticism from mainstream psychologists. His methods were often called too soft or unscientific. Critics argued that without rigorous structure, his approach lacked credibility. But Rogers remained unfazed. He believed that reducing human experience to formulas and data strips it of its essence. He saw his work as deeply scientific in spirit, rooted in real human connection. His unwavering commitment to empathy, authenticity, and acceptance slowly gained validation, even among skeptics.
Final years and legacy, 1980 to 1987. In his later years, Rogers continued to work on global peace efforts, facilitating dialogues between religious leaders, political opponents, and social activists. His dream was a world where people could communicate deeply beyond ideology and fear. He passed away on February 4, 1987, leaving behind a legacy that transformed not just psychology, but how we understand ourselves. His ideas continue to thrive in therapy rooms, classrooms, executive boardrooms, and even in the hearts of parents, friends, and partners who practice deep listening and unconditional love. 9. Carl Rogers' message for the modern world. Accept yourself. All change begins there. The answers you seek lie within you. Dialogue is not the end of conflict, but the beginning of understanding. Conclusion. Carl Rogers' story is not just about one man. It is about every human being seeking to understand, accept, and grow. He taught us that becoming a person is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. He redefined therapy not as fixing people, but empowering them to find their own path. He redefined education not as instruction, but as facilitation. He redefined love, not as approval, but as unconditional presence. His legacy breathes through every soul that dares to listen without judgment, to love without condition, and to live with authenticity. Carl Rogers showed us that you are enough, just as you are, and that's where the real transformation begins.